I'm Allie. I'm a counselor in training. And before we get started today, there's just a couple things we have to go over. First is confidentiality. So whatever you say to me stays in this room unless you're talking about harming yourself, someone is harming you, and you want to harm someone, or somebody is harming the vulnerable, which means like disabled people, sometimes pets, children, the elderly. It doesn't mean it's going to have to leave this room right away, just something that we have to dig a little deeper in to make sure that you are safe and everyone else is safe. Does that sound okay to you?
It does.
Good. And another thing is there's some differences between us that we can see, some we cannot. Can't see religion, we can't see life experience. So if there's ever a time that you don't think I'm understanding you, I want you to be like, hey, time out. You're not getting this. And then explain, because I don't want it to affect us moving forward.
Okay.
All right. So what brings you in today?
I've been really struggling with my daughter recently, seeing some parallels of her and her dad, my ex-husband, and my sister, who are both narcissists. So been really struggling with the idea that my daughter might be a narcissist as well, and just hoping to kind of talk through it, and if that's the case, maybe, just be able to accept that and learn a new way to interact with her so that I'm not always triggering her.
Oh, you don't want to trigger her. All right. Why don't you tell me more about it? Your experience with her, or your ex-husband, or your sister, and how the similarities are.
I've always said that Ellie is just like her dad, but more recently, I've definitely been seeing one of the biggest parallels. I think I didn't quite grasp it when I was still married, but is being a narcissist until I really started digging deeper. But like, my ex saw my only purpose in life was to be his wife and the kid's mother. So if I did anything outside of the home, it was always a fight. I was on the library board, which I thought was a huge accomplishment. I was so proud of. But every time, once a month when there was a meeting, it would lead into this huge fights around it. And so this idea that like my only worth was being that. And so I thought maybe the kids had picked up that concept of that. But the more I look at how Ellie views me in my role and how Owen views me in my role, very different, where Owen doesn't harbor that, whereas Ellie has embraced it completely. So there's constant conflict. Anytime I want to do anything that doesn't align with her idea of what my purpose is, and that is to just be her mother and have no other role. I think that's where it kind of started with trying to understand, and also the fact that like there's just very little empathy, very little ability to see other people's perspectives. For a while I thought maybe she was on the spectrum a little bit because she's so self-centered, and so that was another realization I had to come to is don't think she's on the spectrum. I really think that this lack of empathy towards me is part of the narcissism. She doesn't have it towards everybody, but she definitely has it towards me.
That sounds exhausting.
And she's lost all her friends in the past year, and I don't know if that's related to kind of the things that I'm seeing. But then the lonelier she is, the more she needs me, and the more she drains me. So yeah, there's just been a lot of this trying to figure her out so I can help her figure herself out. And hope that maybe some of this can be worked through in therapy, or I don't know. I don't even know where to start sometimes.
Now, when did you start noticing these things?
I think it's always been there, but I think when David started becoming a bigger part of my life is when I started noticing it more, because until then, I don't think she didn't have something she could so easily use against me. Like, you always, even though I only go to his house every other weekend, where when Rob has the kids, she'll always be like, oh, you just want to run to David. And it became an easy thing for her to use against me. But I think it goes back again to that lack of, like, that idea that I'm not supposed to have anything outside of her. So I think I really just came to this realization. It's been in the past year, because the first person I talked to about it was David, so he's been in our lives for a year.
Now, how do you feel when David's not around? How do you feel that Ellie is treating you when David's not around?
I mean, for the most part, that's when it's just her and I is the best.
But you have to be focused on her when it's just you and
Because
I.
even sometimes with Owen, it becomes a big conflict if she thinks Owen's getting more attention. Owen's the golden child, and Owen this and Owen that. When the reality is Ellie really sucks the majority of the attention away, and it's sometimes, I always laugh sometimes if I get Owen alone, that, I really enjoy the time, because even with baseball this year, I was glad she was getting out of the house and wanting to come to the games, but Owen was missing that. Used to be our favorite time was that ride to the baseball fields together. Right. And then when she's there, she has to sit in the front seat, and so Owen said, like, I'm glad she's coming, but she's taking our time. So, like, if it was close enough and I could drive him, like, to the game and then come back for her, or sometimes I'd have her drive, like, to Mokina, like, it's not that far, to keep that time together. But I feel like she has no perception.
Does she even want to go to the baseball games?
Yeah, so she got really into it. She actually today said, like, I kind of miss Cooperstown. Like, that was really fun. She's like, I really enjoyed his baseball season, and I know she's really proud of him, and they have a good relationship, for the most part.
So you're happy with their brother-sister relationship?
Yes.
Yes, but it's just when you are there, then she projects off of you when she doesn't feel that she's getting the attention. How does that make you feel? Exhausted. Tired.
Lately, especially with this, like, more recent of, she's just really, she has two friends who I know hang out together a lot more than they include her, but they do. She still sometimes hangs out with them. I think it exhausts me of having to be her one and only, or even like last night when I finally we didn't get home till 11. I got the car unpacked, I got laundry started, and I was in my room and I was just getting ready to get into bed. And I mean, I drove the entire 12 hours, and she, like, jumps in my room and gets in my bed, and I'm like, no, like, no, I'm exhausted. I'm not tired. I'm like, go do something.
Right.
But that there's an expectation. She has this idea that I'm supposed to be on and available for her all the time. A lot of times I'm ready for bed, or, to play my word games, and then she's wanting, oh, well, now I want to talk. Like, okay, no, I was out in the family room until 10:30, available for you, and you didn't come out to want to talk to
until you wanted your time.
Until you wanted your time. So sometimes it causes a fight. Sometimes she's just like, whatever, and she gets over it. So, but again, it's as if I'm not supposed to have time for myself ever.
Right. How does that? You said exhausted. How does it make you feel when you, like, stand your ground and you're like, no, not now? Does it make you?
I don't feel guilty about
That's
it.
That's good.
No.
Relieved, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. I would definitely say relieved is a good way to put it, and and I also think that by me putting up that boundary, because she struggles so hard with boundaries, I think, like, all I'm doing is doing her a favor in the future, that she does see the boundaries. She responds to them better now than she used to, because I am very consistent with it.
Now, taking your son away and taking your boyfriend away, how is your relationship with just you and Ellie, if it was just you and Ellie?
I would say, as far as mother-daughter goes, I would say we have a very close relationship. She tells me a lot. Last fall, actually, she went through, we discovered she was bipolar. She was in a very manic state. It was when I was working, and she did come to me and she told me almost all of the stuff she had done in this 1 month period, which for a kid who doesn't get in trouble and doesn't push boundaries, it was alarming. And I called her psychiatrist and she said, do you know what I'm going to tell you? And I'm like, she's bipolar. And she's like, yes, it runs in our family. And we think that when we changed her medicine, it triggered.
How did that make you feel during that time?
I mean, I was thankful that she had the self-awareness to know that her behavior was really out of control. She let it go for longer. I was thankful that she was open with me. I mean, she told me she was going to tell me everything, and I said, you don't have to. And I did give her the privacy with her psychiatrist to tell her. I said, I want her to be able to tell you what she doesn't want me to know. From what she told me, I can't even imagine what she didn't want me to know. Which was hard, but I was thankful because I don't think at her age I had that relationship with my mom where I could have said, and she said, I know something's wrong with me. And I'm like, yeah. I remember the first time I noticed she had volunteered at the Chicago Marathon. And it was the first night David was coming over for dinner. And when she got home, she was like a million miles a minute, like her talking. And I remember like the kids went to get ice cream and I said to David, like, I don't know what's going on with her. And he was like, what do you mean? That was the only time he met her. And later on, it's like, what's wrong with Ellie? And so that was, I think, in the beginning of October. And it was by Halloween, I think, or right around Halloween when she came to me. Maybe it was in November. So I'm really appreciative that I have done something right in keeping the communication open that she could come to me with it. I felt guilty because that was the month I was working at that horrible job that I only lasted a month at. And I was missing a lot because I was working so much. And it was in Joliet and I was still teaching a class in the city. But at the same time, she admitted she knew like on Tuesdays I wouldn't be home until after my class. Like she was, paying attention to all of that. And then, even for as difficult as her and her dad's relationship is, she did tell him a lot too.
Well, it's very like you sound comforting to know that you built that strong relationship with a daughter where she can come to you for everything. That is good.
I think, yeah, because I never told my mom anything.
Me neither. There are still things that I do not tell her.
Honestly, I had to put boundaries around that. Like when she was younger, she would want to tell me like more of the gossipy stuff. And I was like, I don't need to know what Jordan's doing. Like, you can gossip. Yeah, I go, if it affects you directly, come to me. I go, don't want to be part of, girl gossip.
Right.
But my sister was laughing. She's like, my girls never tell me anything. And I'm like, oh, I could know everything about everyone, but I put a boundary on it. Like, I don't want to know.
Right.
So I guess I've done something right in that way because she does feel like she can trust me enough to be open with me.
Yeah, you should be proud.
Well, then it got difficult because we went to New York and my boyfriend ended up flying in for the trip and she was not happy when I told her he was coming.
How did you feel when she told you she was not happy?
I expected it. I actually it took me 2 days to even tell her.
Because you were scared. Because
I knew. And at that point, I didn't know if his plan was to drive with us or what it was. I think she was a little bit better with it when I said we're going to have our road trip together and he's going to fly in. But my mom's like, oh, it might be a really good thing. It might end up being a really good way for, Ellie to really get to know David. And my mom stopped by today and she's like, how did it go? And I'm like, she's still very... But we did end up having a good talk. It didn't... She still was very rude to him the next day.
Did you talk with just Ellie or all three of you together?
No, just me and Ellie. She took a shower. And when she got out, I had her sit on the bed and I brushed her hair. Because I know sometimes getting that... Like they would say the car is a good place because you're not. So I'm like, why don't I brush your hair? And so I kept brushing her hair. And I got her talking, and she did admit, that she's really worried about her dad, and she thinks her dad might be lonely. And she was kind of talking around it, and I said, you know, you keep bringing up things about David where, like, what you're saying doesn't really add up. Like, one of the first things you said to me this week is he's not making an effort, but he flew to New York to see your brother's baseball games after going to all his tournaments.
And he got his own room.
Yeah, and he got his own room. He sure is, you know, I'm like, you know, he even said with the driving part, if he did drive with us, she's like, well, the hotel. I said, Ellie, I'm never gonna ask you to share a room with someone who is not your biological family member. Like,
Hey, you're protective.
no matter what. I go, when David took his kids to Florida, he got his daughter her own condo, and him and the boys stayed in the other ones. Like, and he has very strong boundaries as well. So what it came down to, though, finally, she said, it's always just been the three of us. And people think, okay, so what, I've been divorced 2 years now? Even before that, it was always the three of us.
How did you feel when she said that line to you?
I said I agree. I go, you're right. Like, even when I was married, Rob was not one to want to get out of bed on the weekends to do anything. So I was always planning, excursions and activities, and it was really always the three of us. And I said, okay. I go, that's valid. I go, but you know, things are changing. In a year, you're going to college. You're going to start developing a whole life outside of this house.
And you need a life besides just the three of you.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I said, I didn't expect to meet someone and feel the way I do about David, and I really didn't.
And how do you feel about David?
I have never felt so loved and safe with someone in my life. And
he protects you.
He does. He makes me laugh. We can, like, she's like, what do you guys do all weekend? And honestly, sometimes we just sit on the couch and watch TV and just hang out and chat, and sometimes we just sit in silence, but it's comforting.
Right. And you needed that, especially since it's only been you and your kids for so long.
Mm-hmm. And I lived with someone who I didn't feel safe with. I couldn't have emotions.
Have you told Ellie this?
Yes.
To an extent.
To an extent. And in some ways it's like, you know, I'm not going to justify things to her. I am an adult. I have.
Yes, you are.
I have spent a lot of time researching, you know, knowing the best routes of, you know, how to bring someone into my kids' lives. And, you know, he has said from the beginning that this is like on my timeline. Like, when I said, do you want to meet my kids? He was like, of course I do, but this is up to you. I said I was planning on waiting longer, but because we were supposed to go to Florida together, and Ellie was kind of like, you can't go to Florida with someone I never met. And I'm like, okay, then I'll invite him over for dinner. So I did introduce them, I think, when we were together about 5 months, which I wanted to wait 6. But at that point, I knew he wasn't going to be, you know, ghosting me.
Right. And how did Ellie deal with the fact that you did go to Florida with him?
We ended up not
going. Oh, you didn't
go?
go?
Because we were going to go for his good friend's Halloween party, and his dog got cancer and was doing all of these treatments, and he didn't want his mom to have to do it. So, but then I was glad we did, because Owen had one last football game, and he had been really excited to see Owen play football, so he did come out for his game. He came to, like, my sister's big Halloween party with me. And so those were like things that if I had waited 6 months, he wouldn't have been able to do. And I remember he came to the Halloween party. It was the first time my parents met him. And my dad looked at me and he's like, that man is smitten with you. And I was like, what, really? My dad's like, oh yeah. And yeah, my dad was right.
Your dad sounds supportive of the relationship?
My parents have been very, very supportive of the relationship, which is good, because they felt very betrayed by Rob. My mom still has a ton of anger. I think they don't come to Owen's stuff because they're afraid of seeing him.
Right.
Which I keep saying that's not fair to Owen, because if you can come to every football game, Rob's on the field. Exactly. He doesn't come to most of the baseball games. Not to say he's not watching them. We all know he's lingering somewhere or watching it on Game Changer. But, you know, Rob's very immature around that. Like, he gets, you know, I'm like, there's not one dad on this team who you know, and when he did him, he felt safe with Paul and your dad, so I'm glad that we at least had that. Like, we have the best group of parents on this team, though, so.
Definitely.
And you can be angry with the coaches all you want, but you don't have to interact with them.
Exactly. Now, you bring up that Ellie exhibits a lot of the things that your ex-husband has done. Have you ever thought of maybe it could be like behaviors related to her adolescence, or are you sure it's the narcissism?
I'm not sure of the narcissism.
Yeah.
I hope it's not, just because I would hate to see her live the life my sister ended up living, being lonely or being alone, when clearly being lonely is a thing she feels very hard to her core right now. I'm sure a lot more of it is adolescence. I mean, the divorce, for as unhappy of 10 years that me and Rob lived together, the divorce really, I don't know if I ever told you the story of what happened. We all went to San Diego for my cousin's wedding. So my parents rented an Airbnb, and I brought my kids because they're really close with my cousin Clayton. And then it was my sister Lisa and her husband Gunnar, Kate and her husband Pete, my sister Gina, my mom and dad. And my cousins had come over, and my Aunt Ann, just like after like the rehearsal dinner, we were just playing games, and we were playing euchre, and I think I went outside to have a cigarette with my sister, and we had lost, and Rob made a really disparaging comment about me, and my cousin Andrea was like,
were you there, or were you outside?
I was outside. So I came in. I didn't know what led up to this. When I came in, Andrea's husband and brother were holding Rob back.
Oh,
because he had
that's
been
alarming.
Yeah, so he already had issue with my cousin. This is the problem with Rob. A few years ago, before this, my cousin Andrea, she's a millennial. She's very opinionated. She's still my cousin. I still love her. But she said to Rob once in a conversation, be careful of your white privilege. From what you're saying, Rob, really examine your white privilege. He will tell you to this day that Andrea told him he's a Ku Klux Klan member.
Oh,
so he takes something, and once he believes this is what was heard or said or happened, I started having to record. His delusions were so
that's exhausting.
heavy.
And he believed it.
Yeah, like he believes my mom disobeyed us and was in the room holding my hand when I gave birth to Owen. My mom was in the hallway, but you can't tell him differently. So those are just two examples. So he's already fired up around Andrea. He was drunk. Anyways, Andrea, Matt, and Andrea's mom, they leave, and Rob just keeps escalating. So he ends up, he's going off on my parents. He's going off about my sister. He's bringing up like saying to my brother-in-law, like, yeah, you're so privileged. You had a horse growing up, and we're all like, what is he talking about? He was like off the rails.
Too.
And finally, I had the kids like in their room. I was like blocking them. I was crying, and Kate said to me, "What do you want to do?" I go, "I want him to leave, and I never want to see him again." Wow. This was an hour of him. My parents gave him money to start a business, and you guys have never done anything for me, and he was awful. So we called an Uber.
You were betrayed. You were all betrayed.
First, we kicked the brother-in-laws. Literally, I packed up his bags and brought him up, and they put him out of the house. And then he was just sitting on the curb. So Kate's our, jump into action. She called an Uber, and she found a hotel and booked it. So he left, and everyone was like, how long has he been this bad? And I'm like, it's been years now. I said, but it's getting worse and worse, and you guys can see the delusions. I go, they're getting scary, and the anger around them. So he called the next morning at 7, and I said, I don't care how you get home, but get home and start packing, because I'm hiring a lawyer, and this is done. And so, again,
confident.
Our marriage wasn't great, and obviously Rob drank a lot and had a lot of anger issues, But the idea of we got home from California and immediately I started getting the house ready to sell and, you know, getting the divorce ready. So for my kids, that came really quickly, and then we moved. So, you know, Ellie lost the only house she had. Her parents divorced. I mean, she's in
That's
therapy, but she went through a lot, and then she went through the bipolar, and we get her on track, and then the lupus. So, I mean, she has had the cards stacked against her. So I guess to go back to it, yeah, she's an adolescent who's dealt with a shit ton.
And you have to be exhausted because of all of that. I mean, that's your daughter, that's your baby.
Yeah, like
she's going through it all.
She's like showing me something on her leg, like I need to go to the dermatologist. I'm like, Ellie, I still have to get my mammogram. I still have to get in for I'm like, that's going to have to wait because like I need to get I put everything on for myself on the back burner.
Right.
Because it's been so much years now of this.
Always putting yourself last.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time you start putting yourself first, right?
And that's why I don't apologize. I never, occasionally when, you know, last summer Rob took the kids every other week, but when school started, we just didn't think it was good. I don't think kids should live in two houses. I will never. So yeah, like every other week, maybe during the week, I, you know, go get to have dinner with David. Then as baseball started and everything got busier, that doesn't. So I never leave them unless we have something like important. You know, when it's my weekend with the kids, it's my weekend with the kids.
Right.
But yeah, if he wants to come to Owen's baseball games, I'm not going to say no, you know, and go maybe get dinner with us afterwards. But then I always tell her I'm not going to apologize for having a life. I don't put him before you guys.
Good for you.
And he doesn't want that. I said, if he wanted to be part of my life and not yours, I could see where you had issues.
Right.
But even sometimes I'll joke and be like, you know, like he would go watch the Illini games and he's like, well, you know, saying like, oh, Cece came out. And I'm like, I would come. He's like, but you have the kids. I go, David, I always have the kids.
He sounds very understanding.
He is, because he raised his kids.
Right.
And he put everything, you know, he gets it. He was the only parent for, you know, quite a few years when all three kids decided they didn't want to live with their mom anymore. Yeah, so he doesn't get upset. Like even this weekend, I thought it was Rob's weekend. I forgot I had to bring Ellie to Michigan for the ACT. I texted him and I'm like, hey, I'm taking the kids to the cottage on Friday because Ellie has the ACT on Saturday. I'll come Saturday and Sunday. And he just said, okay, sounds good.
Right.
Like, so he doesn't fight me for attention.
It's only your daughter.
It's only Ellie. But Ellie just can't seem to wrap her head around that. Like,
right.
She keeps just wanting to view it all negative. And like I told her, if Nona and Papa, if my sisters, if Beth, Liz, and Jen, my best friends in the world, if Sue, like who's like my other sister, who knows everything about me inside and out, I go, if any of them came to me with the concerns you have, I would be listening to what you're saying, going, okay, you know what, this isn't the first person. I said, but everything you're saying is so far from everyone else's perception. Ellie, I'm sorry. I go, I'm not disagreeing that this is really hard for you. I go, but you're trying to paint David as a really bad person. And it's just not adding up.
Well, you sound like a very good mother for like telling her, like listening to her, but also being like, you're wrong. That's good. That's very good. How does it make you feel when she doesn't, like she just keeps making excuses?
You know, I said to her, like, you have an idea of perfection, and she is a perfectionist. I go, but you have this idea that if someone sways from this idea that you have, that you're judging them harshly, and I worry about you in relationships because of it. Right. That one wrong move, one wrong, she's
gonna cut them out of their lives.
Yeah, I go, you have to give people leniency to be human, to err,
make mistakes.
And so just as part of her personality, I worry about her because of that, but it's who she is. So I just trying to help her see, and some of our conversations around that, like she did finally admit, like she had these two really close friends, and she was like, yeah, I think I actually did screw things up with Olivia. And I said, okay, but you know, there's no harm in sending Olivia a nice message saying, hey, the more I think back to sophomore year, you know, I feel like I might have done X, Y, and Z, and I'm really sorry if I hurt you. I mean, she may never respond back, but she may not avoid you like the plague.
Right.
And I'm like, again, you don't have to tell me what occurred, just the fact that you're owning it. I go, you know, so I'm hoping that the next step is she'll be comfortable to go back and maybe do some repair where she knows maybe she must.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Ellie's in therapy already, and you do too. So like, you know what you're doing and what you have to do, and it sounds like you're on the right track.
I'm
and
trying.
that's important. It's important for you to put yourself first, but also worry about your kids. It's perfectly normal. I just want to thank you for coming in and being comfortable enough to share everything with me, and I hope everything works out. And you're a great mother.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.